Okay, so box and whisker plots. A lot of times you'll see it as box plots, but we also call them box and whisker depending on the textbook you look at or the question that's being asked. It's the same thing, it's just that they say whisker because of those little lines hanging off the end right here. You see those right here? And those are the whiskers. So sometimes they call them box plots, sometimes box and whisker plots. Same thing. Okay, so let's talk about what the heck this is. It's actually a type of graph. So it's a graph broken into 4 pieces or quadrants. 4 parts. We can say parts, pieces. Okay, I'll show you. Here's the first part right here. You don't have to circle this, okay? Just watch me do it. Here's the second part. Here's the third part. And here's the fourth part. The only thing you have to do so far is just write down the words that I have at top in red and in black. Okay, so this is just a graph broken into 4 parts. And as I show you these things, you'll be like, okay, now I understand why 4 parts. Okay, so there's a couple of words that I want you to highlight. The first word is minimum. Okay, so highlight that. And then the second word is maximum. And let's go ahead and put some numbers to this graph. So let's make this a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay? And so the minimum and maximum, the minimum number is just the smallest number. It's the smallest number in the data set. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. The smallest number in the data set. Okay. And then the maximum number is the largest number. In the data set. So el minimum es el chiquito y el máximo es más grande, okay? So in this case, la más chiquito es 5 and lo más grande is 14. Okay, so we have the smallest and we have the largest number. That's pretty easy. It's called minimum and maximum. In this case, it's 5 and 14, okay? And then we have what we already know. This is one of those things we already know, our median, which, if you remember back from our notes from mean, median, mode, and range, it's the middle number. Middle number in the data set. Okay, and we'll talk about what that means in just a minute. Okay, so say for instance, you have a data set. See if I can do this off the top of my head. And you have like 5, 7, 7, and 8. And then you have a 9. And then you have an 11. And maybe 2 12s and a 14, something like that. Okay? So say for instance you have this data set. Go ahead and write this data set down. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about, let's find the median. Well, according to this box plot, the median is right here. It's 9. Okay, let's see if that's true. Now, because of I don't want to like scratch everything out right now, I'm just going to use dots. And I'm going to say, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers on that side. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers on that side, right? So it would be as if we were crossing out like this, like we used to do, okay? I just don't want to cross everything out because then we won't be able to see it on the screen. So I can easily see my middle number or my median is 9, right? It's 9. Well, that makes sense. That matches the box and whisker plot, okay? So that's simple. It's our median. Our median is just our middle number. In this case, the median is 9. So let me go ahead and write that down. Okay. All right, well, let's look for the other ones. Now, there's two other words that you've probably never even heard of before, and that is lower quartile, which in this case they said is 7, and then upper quartile, which they said in this case is 12. Okay, so let's do it by example. I'll show you what it means by example. Okay, so the lower quartile actually means the middle number of the first half of the data. Okay, let me show you what I mean, and then we'll write a definition. Okay, so in this case, I have to look at this first half of the data. Okay, so I'm looking at that. Go ahead and put a box around that. So what is my middle number? Well, if I start crossing things out, right, I would say, okay, I have 1 here, 1 here. Uh-oh, if I cross everything out, I have no middle number. So I end up with 2 of them. And you guys remember what to do for if you need to find a median, you have 2 numbers. You're going to add them together, then you're going to divide by 2. So in this case, 7 plus 7 is 14, and divided by 2 is 7. So my median is 7, okay? But we don't call it the median because it's just the first half. We call it the lower quartile. Okay, so my lower quartile is 7. Okay, so let's write a definition for lower quartile. Lower quartile is, and I'm gonna put it underneath instead of putting it here. I'm gonna draw a little arrow. Put it here. Lower quartile is the median of the first half of the data. Okay, so it's the first half of the data. It's a median. It's a middle number for the first half. So if we go over here, let's talk about the upper quartile. I bet you guys could guess what I'm going to say. The upper quartile is the median of the second half of the data. Okay, of the data. Okay, so let's look at this one. Now let me get my red pen out. So I'm going to cross one out here, so I cross one out here. Well, if I do this, there's nothing left. So again, I have 2 numbers here. And if I have 2 numbers, I add them up, and I divide by 2. So in this case, it's 24 divided by 2, which is 12. That is my upper quartile. Okay, so upper quartile is just the middle number for the second half of the numbers. So basically, when we're talking about this graph is broken into 4 parts, we really are getting 3 different answers here. We are looking for the lower quartile, the upper quartile, and the median, which are all these are all different medians. So the lower quartile and the median and the middle and the upper quartile, it all has to do just with medians or middle numbers. Okay, so it's just a different way of breaking up the data.